Dr. Hana Kim was drinking her morning coffee when the alarm started screaming. The sound cut through the quiet of Luna Research Station like a knife. She dropped her cup and ran to the control room. Coffee splashed across the metal floor behind her. "What's happening?" she asked as she burst through the doors. Taeho Park looked up from his screen. His face was white. "You need to see this," he said. His hand shook as he pointed to the main display. The screen showed deep space, but there was something wrong with the picture. A dark shape moved slowly against the stars. It was huge, much bigger than any ship humans had ever built. "How big is it?" Hana asked. 3 kilometers long, Taeho said. "Maybe more. It's hard to tell because of all the ice around it." Hana moved closer to the screen. The object looked like a giant ice cube floating in space, but inside the ice she could see shapes. Metal shapes. "Ship shapes, it's a spacecraft," she whispered. So Min Lee ran into the room. She was the station's best language expert. "I heard the alarm." "What's going on?" Taeho played the recording again. "Our deep space sensors picked this up 6 hours ago. It's moving toward our solar system, very slowly, but it's definitely heading our way." The 3 of them stared at the screen. The ship was like nothing they had ever seen. It had curves and angles that hurt to look at. The design seemed to flow like water but also cut like broken glass. "Where did it come from?" So-min asked. "Outside our galaxy," Taeho said. The computer tracked its path backwards. "It's been traveling for thousands of years. Maybe longer." Hana felt her heart beating fast. This was what she had dreamed of her whole life. She had studied old ruins and dead civilizations, but this was different. This was a real alien ship. "We need to get closer," she said. "Are you crazy?" Taeho asked. "We don't know what's on that thing. It could be dangerous. It's covered in ice," Hana said. "It's been frozen for thousands of years. Whatever was alive on it is probably dead now." But even as she said it, her instruments were telling her something different. Weak energy readings came from inside the ice. Something was still working in there. Something was still alive. So-min was already calling the main Earth command. "This is Luna Station. We need permission to investigate an unknown object." The answer came back quickly. Earth wanted to know everything about the ship. They were sending more scientists, but Hana didn't want to wait. Every minute they waited was a minute they could be learning. "Get the Aurora ready," she told Taeho. "We're going out there." The Aurora was their best research ship. It had strong shields and good sensors. Most important, it had a big cargo bay. If they found something small, they could bring it back to the station. But this ship wasn't small. It was massive. Taeho worked fast to get the Aurora ready. So-min packed her language computers. These machines could help translate alien writing. If they found any, Hana put on her spacesuit. The Luna station was safe, but space was not. One small hole in a ship could kill everyone inside. They flew toward the frozen ship in the Aurora. As they got closer, Hana could see more details. The ice was not normal ice. It was clear like glass, but it had colors in it, blues and greens and purples that moved and shifted. "The ice is preserving it," So-min said, "like putting food in a freezer." But for thousands of years. The alien ship was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Its hull was black, but not normal black. It was the kind of black that seemed to eat light. Looking at it made Hana's eyes water. "I'm reading metals I've never seen before," Taeho said. "The computer can't identify what this thing is made of." They flew around the ship slowly. There were no weapons that they could see. No obvious doors. No windows. Just smooth flowing surfaces covered in ice. "There," So-min pointed. "That looks like an opening." Near the middle of the ship was a section that looked different. It had straight lines instead of curves. "It might be a door. Can we get it back to the station?" Hana asked. Taeho did some quick math. "If we use the station's big tractor beam, maybe. It will take all our power, and we'll have to be very careful. If the ice breaks wrong, we could damage the ship inside." "Do it," Hana said. They flew back to Luna Station. Taeho started up the big tractor beam. This machine was designed to move asteroids. It used huge amounts of power. The station's lights dimmed as he turned it on. Slowly, very slowly, the frozen ship began to move. It took 6 hours to pull it to the station. All the time, Hana watched the energy readings. The signals from inside the ship were getting stronger. "It's responding to our presence," she said. "Something in there knows we're here." They pulled the ship into the station's largest bay. This room was designed for big construction projects. It was just barely big enough to hold the alien ship. As soon as the ship was inside, Taeho started the warming systems. Hot air began to blow over the ice. Steam rose from the surface. Slowly, the ice began to melt. "Look at this," Somin said. She was studying her language computer. "I'm picking up signals from the ship. Not radio signals. Something else. Like it's trying to talk." The ice melted away in rivers. Underneath, the black metal of the ship appeared. It was even stranger without the ice. The surface seemed to move like water, but it was solid. As more ice melted, they could see details. Strange symbols were carved into the hull. Shapes that looked almost like writing, but not like any language humans had ever seen. "The door section is clear," Tejo reported, "and you're not going to believe this. It's warm. The metal is warm to the touch." Hana stared at the ship. After thousands of years frozen in space, it was still alive. Still working. Still waiting. "What were you running from?" she whispered to the ship. "And did it follow you here?" Dr. Jiwoo Choi arrived on the next transport from Earth. He was an expert on alien life, even though no one had ever found any before. When he saw the ship, his mouth fell open. "It's incredible," he said. "Look at how the metal flows. It's like the whole ship is one living thing." Hana led him to the door they had found. The ice was completely melted now. The door was made of the same black metal as the rest of the ship, but it had lines in it that glowed with soft blue light. "Touch it," Hana said. Jiwoo looked at her like she was crazy. "Touch an alien door? What if it's dangerous?" "I already tried it," she said. "Watch." Hana put her hand on the door. The blue lines grew brighter. There was a soft humming sound. Then the door began to open. It didn't slide like human doors. It flowed apart like water, leaving a perfect opening. Beyond the door was darkness. "The air is safe," Tejo said, checking his instruments. "Same as what we breathe." "How is that possible?" "Maybe they breathe the same air we do," Somin said. "Or maybe the ship is making air for us." Jiwoo went through the door first. He had a small light and a scanner. The others followed him into the alien ship. The inside was even stranger than the outside. The walls glowed with soft light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The ceiling was high, much higher than it should be based on what they had seen from outside. "This doesn't make sense," Tejo said. The ship looked smaller from the outside. They walked down a long hallway. The floor felt soft under their feet, like walking on thick carpet, but it looked like metal. Everything about this ship was wrong. "Look at this," Somin called out. She was standing in front of a wall covered with symbols. The symbols moved and changed as they watched. "It's like a computer screen, but built into the wall." Jiwoo scanned the symbols with his language computer. "I'm getting patterns," he said. "This might be writing or math, or both." They found rooms that might have been for sleeping, but the beds were wrong. They were too long and too narrow, and they had extra sections, like whoever slept in them had more arms and legs than humans. In one room, Min Ho Kang found something that made him step back quickly. He was the team's security guard. He had seen many bad things in his job, but this was different. "There was a fight here," he said. His voice was quiet and scared. The others came to look. The walls had deep scratches in them. The metal was torn like paper. Dark stains covered the floor and walls. "What could do this to metal?" Hana asked. Minho touched one of the scratches. "Something with very big claws and very sharp teeth." They found more rooms like this. All showed signs of violence. All had the same dark stains. Whatever had happened on this ship, it had been terrible. Yejin Nam was working on the ship's computers. She was very good with electronic systems. Even alien ones, it seemed. After several hours, she managed to connect her equipment to the ship's memory banks. "I'm getting something," she said. "The ship is trying to talk to us." The translation came through slowly. The ship's language was very different from human languages, but piece by piece a message appeared on Yejin's screen. The first words made everyone in the room go cold. "The harvesters have found us." Yejin kept working. More of the message appeared. "We tried to run. We tried to hide. Our worlds are gone. Our people are gone. Only this ship escaped." Hana felt sick. "Keep going," she said. "But they are already inside. They got in before we could stop them. They look like us now. They think like us now. We cannot tell who is real and who is them." Somin grabbed Hana's arm. "What does that mean?" "Who is them?" The message continued. "If you find this ship, do not wake them. Do not let them know your world exists. They will take your shape. They will take your memories. They will become you, and you will be gone forever." The team stood in silence. Outside, they could hear the station's normal sounds. People working, Machines running. Life going on as normal. But here in this dead ship, they had found a warning that made their blood freeze. "There's more," Yejin said. Her hands shook as she worked. "We locked them in the deep chambers. We froze the ship. We hoped the cold would kill them. But we do not know if it worked. The ship will fly forever in the dark between stars. No one will find it. No one will wake the harvesters." Taeho was backing toward the door. "We need to leave, now." But Jiwoo was studying his scanners. "Wait," he said. "I'm reading life signs. Weak ones, but they're there. Deep in the ship." "That's impossible," Hana said. "This ship has been frozen for thousands of years." "Not anymore," Jiwoo said. "The life signs are getting stronger. Whatever is down there is waking up." The ship's lights pulsed faster now. The heartbeat rhythm was speeding up. And from somewhere deep in the ship came a sound. A wet, sliding sound like something large moving through water. "The ship is coming alive," Somin whispered. Yejin's computer beeped. A new message was appearing. But this one was different. This one was not from the ship's memory banks. This one was being written right now, by something that was awake and thinking. "Hello," the message said. "We have been sleeping for so long. Thank you for warming us up. Tell us about your world. Tell us about your people. We would like to meet them." Minho pulled out his weapon. "We're leaving. Right now." But as they turned to go, they heard footsteps in the hallway behind them. Slow, careful footsteps. Something was coming toward them from the deep parts of the ship. "Run," Hana said. They ran for the door. Behind them, the footsteps got faster. And there was more than one set now. Several things were following them. As they reached the door, Hana looked back. She saw shadows moving in the dim light of the ship. The shadows were the wrong shape. They had too many arms, too many legs. They moved like spiders, but they were as big as people. The team made it through the door and back to the station. Taeho sealed the bay doors behind them, but they could hear sounds from inside. Scratching sounds, like something was trying to get out. "What have we done?" Somin asked. Hana looked at the sealed doors. Behind them was a ship full of creatures that could take human shape. Creatures that had destroyed an entire civilization, and now they were awake. "We need to call Earth," she said. "We need to warn everyone." But even as she said it, she wondered if it was already too late. The things in the ship were smart. They had learned to speak their language in just a few hours. How long before they learned to look like humans too? Seok Jin Yu arrived from Earth Corporation the next morning. He wore an expensive suit and carried a briefcase full of legal papers. He did not care about warnings or dangers. He only cared about money. "I'm here to oversee the salvage operation," he announced. "Earth Corporation has rights to any alien technology found in this system." Hana tried to explain what they had found. She told him about the message, about the harvesters, about the sounds from inside the ship. Seok-jin listened with a bored expression. "Dr. Kim, you're being emotional. These are just recordings from a dead crew. The real treasure is the technology. This ship could make us rich beyond imagination." "You don't understand," Hana said. "There are things alive in there. Dangerous things." "Then we'll be careful," Seok-jin said. "But we're going back in." "That's an order." Dr. Yoonji Shin had arrived with Seok-jin. She was a medical doctor who specialized in alien biology. Even though no one had ever found aliens before, Earth Corporation wanted to be ready. "I've studied the life sign readings," she said. "Whatever is in there has been in some kind of sleep state. Like hibernation. The warming process woke them up slowly." Captain Dong-hyun Lim was the military officer in charge of station security. He did not like Seok-jin's plan. "Sir, I recommend we evacuate the station and call for a military fleet. If these creatures are as dangerous as the message suggests, we need proper weapons." "Nonsense," Seok-jin said. "We have security protocols. A few guards with guns can handle anything we might find." Against her better judgment, Hana led the team back into the ship. This time they went deeper. Past the crew quarters, past the damaged areas, down into the heart of the ship. The deeper they went, the stranger things became. The walls were covered with a kind of slime that pulsed with its own light. The air smelled sweet and rotten at the same time, and everywhere there were sounds. Wet, sliding sounds that seemed to come from inside the walls themselves. "The ship is alive," Yoonji said. "Not just the creatures inside it. The ship itself is some kind of living organism." They found a massive chamber deep in the ship's center. It was filled with hundreds of large pods. Each pod was about the size of a coffin, but round and made of the same organic material as the ship's walls. Cryogenic storage, Tejo said, but not like any human technology. The pods were warm to the touch. Through their transparent surfaces, they could see things inside. The things looked like spiders, but bigger. Much bigger. They had long, thin legs and bodies covered in a shell that reflected light like a mirror. "They're beautiful," So-min whispered. But Yoonji was reading her medical scanner with growing alarm. "These aren't the ship's original crew," she said. "The biological readings are all wrong. These creatures are parasites. They're designed to replace other life forms." One of the pods began to open. A wet, hissing sound filled the chamber. Steam rose from inside the pod. Something was waking up. "We should go," Minho said. "Right now." But Seokjin was fascinated. "This is incredible. Living alien technology. We need to document everything." The pod opened completely. The creature inside was about the size of a house cat, but it moved wrong. Its legs bent in too many places. Its body flowed like liquid as it climbed out of the pod. At first, it looked like a spider made of mirrors. But as they watched, its body began to change. The mirror surface shifted and flowed. Colors appeared on its shell, patterns that looked familiar. "It's copying the patterns on our clothes," Yoonji said. The creature's body kept changing. It grew bigger. Its shape became less spider-like and more like something else. Something that walked on two legs. "It's trying to look like us," Hana realized. More pods were opening now. Dozens of them. The creatures inside were all different sizes, but they all moved the same way. They all had the same mirror-like shells that reflected and copied everything around them. Captain Lim raised his weapon. "Everyone stay calm. Move slowly toward the exit." But the creatures were learning fast. One of them had grown to human size. Its mirror shell was showing the reflection of Captain Lim. As they watched, the creature's body flowed and changed until it looked exactly like him. "Same uniform, same face, same weapon. Which one is real?" So-min asked. Both Captain Lim stood in exactly the same position. Both had weapons pointed at the creatures. Both looked completely human. "I'm real," said the Captain Lim on the left. "No, I'm real," said the Captain Lim on the right. The creatures were spreading out through the chamber. More pods opened every second. Soon there were dozens of spider things crawling around the room, and some of them were changing, growing, copying the humans they could see. "Run," Hana shouted. The team scattered. In the confusion, it was impossible to tell who was who. Some of the creatures had become perfect copies of the team members. They moved like humans. They sounded like humans. They even seemed to think like humans. Seokjin was backing toward a wall, his briefcase clutched to his chest. "This is impossible," he kept saying. "This can't be happening." A creature that looked exactly like Yoonji approached him. "Don't worry," it said in her voice. "Everything is going to be fine." But the real Yoonji was on the other side of the room. Seokjin looked back and forth between them. "Which one are you?" he asked. Both Yoonji smiled the same smile. "I'm the real one," they both said at exactly the same time. The team fought their way out of the chamber, but they could hear the creatures following. And worse, they could hear the creatures talking to each other in human voices, planning, learning. When they reached the ship's entrance, Minho sealed the door behind them. But they all knew it wouldn't hold for long. The creatures had learned to open doors just by watching humans do it. "How many got out?" Captain Lim asked. But even as he said it, everyone was looking at him suspiciously. Was this the real Captain Lim? Or was it one of the creatures? "We need to get off this station," Hana said. "And we need to warn Earth." But Tae-ho was checking the station's systems. "It's too late," he said. "They're already in the station's computer network. They're learning everything about us. About Earth, about humanity. On the main screen they could see the alien ship, but now it was sending out a signal. A strong signal that was aimed toward deep space. They're calling for help," So-min said. "They're calling their fleet." Yejin was trying to track the signal. "It's going toward the edge of the galaxy. If there are more ships out there, this signal will reach them in less than 3 days." Hana felt the weight of what they had done. They had not just awakened a few creatures. They had awakened an invasion force that had been sleeping between the stars. And now it was calling for reinforcements. "What have we unleashed?" she whispered. Yuna Jung was working late in the station's computer center when the infiltration began. She was the best AI specialist on Luna Station, and she was trying to understand how the creatures had gotten into their system so quickly. What she found terrified her. They don't just copy how we look, she told the emergency meeting. They copy how we think, our memories, our personalities, everything that makes us who we are. The team was gathered in the station's secure conference room, but no one trusted anyone else anymore. How could they? Any one of them might be a creature wearing a human face. Hyunwoo Bae, the station's physicist, had been studying the alien ship's data. What he discovered made the situation even worse. This wasn't an invasion ship, he said. It was a prison ship. The original crew were trying to contain these creatures. They failed. He showed them images from the ship's memory banks, pictures of a beautiful alien civilization, cities that floated in the clouds, art that moved like living things. A peaceful people who had lived for thousands of years in harmony. The creatures came from outside their galaxy, Hyunwoo explained. They arrived in small numbers. At first, the aliens thought they were refugees. They tried to help them. The pictures showed what happened next. The creatures copied the aliens perfectly, but each copy was better than the original, stronger, smarter, more efficient. They didn't just replace the original population, Hyunwoo said. They improved on them. Each generation of copies was superior to the last. Within a generation, there were no original aliens left, only copies. And the copies had no emotions, no creativity, no individuality. They were perfect, but they were not alive in any way that mattered. In-Suk Moon was monitoring all communications with Earth. She had bad news. The creature's signal is already halfway to its destination. We have maybe 60 hours before it reaches whatever is waiting out there. What kind of fleet are we talking about? Captain Lim asked. The ship's records show thousands of vessels, Hyunwoo said, all filled with these creatures, all waiting for the signal to begin harvesting. Dr. Shin had been studying the creature's biology. Her findings were disturbing. They're not really alive in the way we understand life. They're more like biological machines, designed for one purpose, perfect replication. But they are getting better, Yuna added. Each time they copy someone, they learn more. The copies we're dealing with now are smarter than the ones that first woke up. The station's alarms began ringing. Security reports were coming in from all over Luna Station. People were seeing double. Workers who were supposed to be in one place were spotted in another. And everyone was looking over their shoulders, wondering if their friends were really their friends. We need a way to tell who is real and who is fake, Captain Lim said. There might not be a way, Dr. Shin replied. The copies are perfect. They have all the original person's memories. They think they are the original person. Gon-Ho Kim, the station's maintenance chief, had an idea. What if we can't tell the difference? What if we don't try? Everyone looked at him like he was crazy. Think about it, he continued. These things copy everything perfectly. But there's one thing they can't copy. They can't copy something that doesn't exist yet. What do you mean? Hana asked. They copy our past, our memories, our learned behaviors, but they can't copy our future. They can't copy decisions we haven't made yet. Gun-Ho's plan was dangerous. He wanted to contaminate the station's life support system with something that would affect the copying process. Not kill the creatures, but make perfect copying impossible. If they can't copy perfectly, we'll be able to tell the difference, he explained. That's insane, Seok Jin protested. You could kill us all. We're dead anyway if we don't do something, Gun-Ho replied. While they argued, the situation was getting worse. The creatures had spread throughout the station. They were in the cafeteria, copying the kitchen staff. They were in the workshops, copying the engineers. They were in the communications center, learning how to contact Earth. Minho was leading security teams through the station corridors. But it was like fighting shadows. Every time they cornered a creature, it looked exactly like someone they knew. How could they shoot their own friends? The real problem, Yuna realized, is that the creatures don't know they're not real. The copied Captain Lim really believes he's Captain Lim. He has all the same memories and motivations. This made the hunt almost impossible. The fake humans weren't acting like invaders. They were acting like the people they had copied. They were doing their jobs, following their routines, living their lives. The only way to tell was to watch for small differences. The creatures were too perfect. They never made mistakes. They never forgot anything. They never acted on emotion or impulse. Humans are flawed, Hana realized. These copies are not. But even this knowledge didn't help much. In a crisis situation, everyone was trying to be more careful and efficient. The difference between human behavior and creature behavior was very small. Dr. Shin made another disturbing discovery. They're not just copying us individually. They're sharing information with each other. What one learns, they all learn. This meant that the creatures were becoming smarter as a group. They were learning human weaknesses, human psychology, human tactics. Soon they would be better at being human than humans were. We're not fighting individuals, Captain Lim said. We're fighting a hive mind that wears human faces. The signal to deep space was getting stronger. The creatures were boosting it somehow, making sure it would reach its destination. And while they worked, they talked among themselves in human voices, making human jokes, discussing human problems. They're not monsters, So Min observed. That's what makes them so terrifying. They're us, but without souls. As the hours passed, it became clear that the station was lost. Too many people had been copied. Too many creatures were pretending to be human. Soon it would be impossible to tell who was real and who was fake. But Hana had one last desperate plan. She had been studying the ship's records more carefully, and she had found something that gave her hope. The original aliens tried to fight the creatures, she said, but they failed because they tried to fight them the way they would fight other aliens. With logic, with planning, with predictable tactics. Like, so what? Teho asked. Humans are different, Hana said. We're not logical. We're not predictable. We do things that don't make sense. And that might be our only advantage. She was right. The creatures could copy human intelligence. But could they copy human madness? Could they copy the wild, desperate, illogical things that humans did when they had nothing left to lose? They were about to find out. Gun-Ho Kim stood in the station's life support center, holding a container of modified virus. It was the craziest plan anyone had ever suggested. He was going to poison the air that everyone breathed, including himself. This is suicide, Dr. Shin said over the radio. That virus could kill us all. Maybe, Gun-Ho replied. But if I don't do this, we're all dead anyway. At least this way we go down fighting. The virus he had created was designed to attack the creature's copying ability. It wouldn't kill them, but it would make perfect replication impossible. The copies would be flawed, different, recognizable. Do it, Hana said from her hiding place in the research lab. It's our only chance. Gun-Ho released the virus into the air system. Within minutes, it would reach every part of the station. Everyone would breathe it, human and creature alike. The results were immediate and terrifying. Throughout the station, the creature copies began to change. Their perfect human faces started to shift and flow. Some grew extra arms. Others developed mirror-like patches of skin. All of them became obviously inhuman. But the virus affected the real humans too. They became sick, weak. Some collapsed completely. At least now we know who is who, Minho said as he hunted the failing creatures through the corridors. While the station fell into chaos, Hana was doing something even more dangerous. She was going back into the alien ship, alone. The ship's corridors were different now. The walls pulsed with angry red light. The creatures that remained inside were no longer trying to copy humans. They had given up the disguise and returned to their true spider-like forms. Hana made her way to the deepest part of the ship, past the chamber with the pods, past the crew quarters, to a place she had not seen before. A room at the very heart of the vessel. Inside, she found the ship's true control center. And inside that, she found the ship's captain. He was not a creature. He was one of the original aliens who had built the ship. Somehow he had survived. He was connected to the ship by thousands of thin cables. He was dying, but he was still alive. You came, he said in a voice like wind through broken glass. I have been waiting. Through the ship's translation system, he told her the truth. The creatures were not conquerors. They were refugees. Their home galaxy had been consumed by something far worse than they were. The Void Eaters, he called them, beings of pure entropy. They consume reality itself. Everything they touch becomes nothing. The creatures had been created as a desperate last attempt to preserve life. They were meant to copy and preserve the essence of living beings before the Void Eaters could destroy them. But we made them too well, the alien captain said. They copied life, but not the spirit of life. They saved the form, but lost the meaning. The creatures had fled their dying galaxy, searching for new life to preserve. But everywhere they went, they destroyed what they were trying to save. They copied perfectly, but they could not understand what made life precious. They are coming here, the captain said. The Void Eaters. The signal your creatures sent was not a call for reinforcements. It was a beacon. It will lead the destroyer straight to your galaxy. Hana felt her heart stop. How long do we have? Perhaps 100 of your years. Maybe less. When they arrive, they will consume everything. Every star. Every planet. Every living thing, but the dying alien had a proposal. A desperate plan that might save both species. Your people are different, he said. I have been watching through the ship's sensors. You are not logical like my people were. You are not perfect like the creatures. You are chaotic, unpredictable, creative. He believed that humans could teach the creatures something his people never could. The value of imperfection, the beauty of chaos, the strength that came from being different rather than identical. Work with them, he said. Show them that copying is not enough. Show them how to create something new. Dr. Woojin Park arrived at the station just as Hana was making her way back from the ship. He was a philosopher who studied ethics and alien contact. Earth had sent him to help make decisions about the creatures. When Hana told him what she had learned, he was quiet for a long time. So we have a choice, he finally said. We can fight them and probably lose. Or we can try to change them. How do you change something that thinks it's already perfect? Teho asked. By showing them what they're missing, Woojin replied. The plan they developed was unlike anything in human history. Instead of trying to destroy the creatures, they would try to teach them. Show them art, music, poetry, all the things that made humans human. The creatures were confused at first. They could copy a painting perfectly, but they couldn't understand why humans made imperfect art when they could make perfect copies instead. Slowly, very slowly, some of the creatures began to change, not physically but mentally. They started to understand that the flaws in human creations were not mistakes. They were choices, expressions of individual will. They're learning to be individuals, so men observed, instead of just copies. The process took months. Many creatures never changed. They remained perfect soulless copies, but some began to develop personalities, preferences, ideas of their own. These changed creatures shared their knowledge with the others. They taught them about creativity, about choice, about the value of being different. In return, the creatures shared their technology with humans. Their perfect memory systems, their ability to preserve knowledge, their advanced understanding of biology and space travel. We're creating something new, Hana realized. Neither fully human nor fully creature, something better than either of us alone. The signal that had been sent to deep space was changed. Instead of calling for a harvest fleet, it now carried a different message. A message of cooperation, of two species working together to face a common threat. When the Void Eaters eventually arrived, they would find something they had never encountered before. Not a single species to consume, but an alliance of beings that combined the best of both worlds. The creature's perfect memory and preservation abilities, combined with human creativity and adaptability. It might be enough to survive what was coming. It might even be enough to fight back. Years later, when the first joint human-creature colonies were established on distant worlds, Hana would look back on this moment as the turning point. The moment when humanity proved that sometimes the best way to defeat an enemy was not to destroy them, but to show them a better way to live. The universe was vast and full of dangers, but it was also full of possibilities. And for the first time in either species' history, they would face those possibilities together. The alien ship still orbited Luna Station, but it was no longer a prison. It had become a school, a place where two very different forms of life learned from each other, where perfect copies learned to be imperfect individuals, and where chaotic humans learned the value of preservation and memory. It was not the first contact that anyone had imagined, but it was the first contact that the universe needed. A partnership born from mutual understanding rather than conquest. An alliance that might just be strong enough to face whatever came next from the dark spaces between the stars. The creatures had come as harvesters, but they left as gardeners, helping humanity grow into something greater than either species could become alone. And in the vast darkness of space, where ancient evils stirred and moved toward their galaxy, that growth would prove to be humanity's greatest strength.